Okay, you still going? All right. Hey friends, this is your girl T. Marie, and I want you to enjoy Conversations with T. Marie, where I invite some friends to sit down and have a conversation with me, asking questions they've always wanted to ask. I hope you enjoy. Good. All right. It's T. Marie. I'm here with my friend Tony, and Tony got some, I'm sure, interesting questions for me. So what you got, Tony?
So I know we talk about education a lot.
Yeah.
You're really big on education. And Birmingham has an education problem. The state has an education problem. What are your thoughts about charter schools here in Birmingham and how they affect the student bodies?
Okay. As somebody who, even though I'm big on education, I hated traditional school. So I'm a fan of choice. I'm a fan of you being able to put your child where it works for them.
Right.
If it just so happens to be a charter school, cool. I think too often the conversation here is not actually focused on the kids. And we have these ideas and we throw these things up and we don't want these schools, we don't want this, we don't want that. And nobody is talking about the fact that you got students graduating who are not reading
Right.
on their grade level. That's a problem. You can't even talk about us competing globally or nationally if our children are not able to compete in the city. And I think the fact that we're not honest enough to say, you know what, this is not working, and whatever we can bring in and let's try it, let's try it. I'm a fan of, if we go fail, let's fail fast and figure out, okay, this doesn't work. Okay,
Right.
so now let's try this. Because this charter school may work. Another charter school may pop up and it's like, that one does not work. That one needs to go. Or do we need to do private school? Do we need to have more homeschool options with support for families?
Right.
I'm a fan of what works for your kid. You should be able to have that choice. And I think that goes back to equity of parents being able to be educated, one, on what options are there, but also us creating the options.
Right.
So yeah, that's my
I'm gonna
stance.
follow up with that after this because
Okay.
I don't want to waste another question on charter school. Okay, so my next question is, what do you think is missing from today's activism? I have a lot of young people who I see who are activists, and I think you mentioned this in one of your other answers about how they're not doing our grandparents' activism, but our grandparents' activism was smart because they were strategic.
Absolutely.
So what do you think is really missing from today's activism?
Mentorship. I think we have lost the mentorship piece. And I think because that generation was like, we achieved some things, we good, we doing well, I've advanced. So I think they celebrated too long.
Right.
I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I think the celebration was too long. And I think but we saw it shift, we saw in the 80s, we saw the frustration coming out through hip hop and music.
Right.
And these are our issues in our community. And it was like, we want to ban your music. Don't say that. But it's
Right.
like, but this is what's happening in my community and I'm trying to bring attention to it. You may not like the way I'm packaging the message,
Right.
but are we going to address this? So I think those opportunities to sit down with those leaders of that day to say, no, this is how we did this. And we did this like this because this happened then. I remember talking when I did the Selma to Montgomery commemorative march and having a foot soldier say, well, we always plan marches in the afternoon so they could be recorded so they can get it to New York to have it on the evening news. And it was like, oh, why don't nobody ever tell us that? And even though now technology is different and you can almost do and say whatever, whenever, and
Right.
somebody can capture it. But just having the understanding that things were strategic, it wasn't that you just showed up and marched. No, the march was a response to, or the end result of all these other things we've done.
Right, and a strategy that was put in place
Absolutely,
to make it happen.
absolutely.
I totally agree with you on
And
that.
so I think mentorship is what's missing and is needed. People always ask me, well, what activist inspires you? And I'm like, actually, none. I respect them all, but there hasn't been anybody in the work that I do that I've been able to reach and touch and say, could you give me advice? And
Right.
then the organizers that I know that are older, none of them have ever reached out to me to say, let me
Show you.
talk to you, be of some help.
Right.
That has yet to happen.
Okay, cool. So if you could go back in time and give yourself some advice, what would it be?
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
Nope.
At all? Okay.
No.
I kind of figured you'd say that.
Yeah, because I think if I would give myself any advice, it would have changed the things.
And you're
who I
happy
am
where
now.
you're happy where you are
I'm
now.
happy with where I am now.
Yeah.
And everything that I went through, it was needed to get here.
I totally,
Yeah.
that's my mantra. I totally
Yeah.
agree. Live life with no regrets.
I'm telling you.
So, I've also know that you have a big belief in faith in God, and you mentioned that you came from a family full of preachers. Religion, the way that it is presented today, can be very problematic if you don't fall into the traditional lines that coincide with being a cis white male, or just a cis male at all, black or white.
Yeah.
How does your religious belief affect your intersection or interaction with the LGBTQ community?
It doesn't.
Now, there are people who say that, you know, God said that being gay is wrong, you're going to hell just for merely existing. So
Yeah, those people have problems. They do. They have problems, and that has nothing to do with the LGBTQ community. That has everything to do with them.
Right.
Because you can find whatever scripture you want to. You know,
Amen.
God tells us to love our neighbor, and that's the one that you're supposed to hang your hat on.
Right.
Is the love. My job is not to. I don't have a hell to put anybody in or heaven to keep anybody out of. So, I am out of line to condemn anybody. My job is to love you, and I'm going to be judged for how I treat others. I have a cousin that's gay and out, and it bothers me zero.
Right.
You know, I have somebody very close to me, and I'm going to keep that person, who it is, in confidence so they can share their story when they're ready. But somebody that's very dear to me recently came out. And when they told me, I was like, okay.
What now?
And they were like, I was expecting something else. And I'm like, no, my job is to love you.
Right.
And I love you. I care about you. I want you to be the best.
They were expecting something else from you?
Well, I don't think it was necessarily me. I think it was in response to our religious belief and practices.
Okay.
And this person being close up on that with me. And I'm like, no, I love you.
Right.
So we going to get a drink? Or, you know what I'm saying?
What?
Like, what we
We gonna
doing?
be out?
You know, and I'm probably, I would say the most, and I hate to use the term open, because I don't feel like that's truly accepting. But I'm like, are we going to ever talk about these adulterers?
Right.
Are we going to talk about these liars,
Right.
these stealers? Like those things truly hurt and impact people's lives.
Right.
You know, when you have a minister that's abusive,
Right.
and we're not going to talk about that, really? We're off. You know, so I think for me, I don't care who you are. I love you. I'm going to respect you because that's what I'm supposed to do. But I believe that's what people deserve.
Right.
You know, if you can't say, I believe you're created in the image of God. So who am I to start deciphering what that image actually entails?
Looks like, right.
You know, so that's why I have no problem of saying, hey, how can I help to continue to build bridges with the LGBTQ community? What does that look like? And I don't assume I know what's right.
Right.
But, you know, in our interactions, I'm like, well, no, Tony need to be at this table because who am I to speak for a black gay male? I don't know what you're experiencing, but I know you should be treated with respect. And if I can do what I can to leverage to make that happen, that's what I'm going to do.
Appreciate that.
Anytime.
So before I ask my last question,
Okay.
Can I get a bonus too?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
You get a bonus.
So my last official question is, Birmingham has a very rich civil rights history, and I would say a human rights history.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of ups and we've experienced a lot of downs. And I know there are a lot of problems that we have. What do you see as the top 3 problems facing this city right now?
Wow.
You know what my bonus question is.
I think I do.
Yeah, okay.
I think I do. I would say education.
Definitely.
Education is key. It makes no sense for us to have a major university that is doing and bringing the opportunities that it's bringing, and our primary education system is fractured. So education is a big issue. I think equity, and I'm saying equity blanket with opportunities of employment, opportunities of housing, opportunities of creation, and opportunities of access. And I think that touches on so many areas of quality of life.
Yeah.
And I think our third one would be community involvement or community buy-in. I think somebody else would probably throw out crime. And I think the only reason we can't solve our crime issue is because the community is not a part of it.
Right.
So I think when the community is actually brought in on the conversation and is empowered and utilized and allowing the community to do what the community is supposed to do, then I think those other things solve themselves.
I can't wait to interview you on my podcast. Okay. So my bonus question is,
Go for it. I know where it's coming.
do you think you may run for mayor one day? You know, right now we have at least 4 women running for president, and we're already hearing the normal trope of, well, I don't think the country's ready for a woman president, or I don't think the country's ready for a Black woman president. I think the city's time to get a female mayor.
Well, they say never say never. Is that what they say?
Yeah.
It's not a job that I would want. It's not a position that me in my natural habitat would feel comfortable with. I don't even like people randomly running up to me, asking me stuff, because I'm an introvert but an extrovert. If I felt it was absolutely necessary, and I had like this major burning bush experience, and I don't be going around saying no bushes on fire.
I got some gasoline right now.
When I'm walking past.
just dousing over that, throw the match.
But if I really felt like God was like, this is something you're supposed to do, then I would throw my hat in there.
Y'all think she should?
See, y'all ain't right. Y'all supposed to be like, no, don't do it, T. Marie. But it's just a level of privacy that you lose.
Right.
And that would take adjustment for me. But if I really felt like in my heart that this is what you're supposed to be doing right now, I would do it. Honestly, I think a Black woman could fix Birmingham. I really do.
I totally do.
I'm not necessarily saying I'm that Black woman.
Well, I'm saying both of them.
But I think it's time for a shift. I think it's time for a shift nationally, but we're talking about Birmingham. I think so. I think we need somebody who is unbought and unbothered.
Woo!
And if I did do it, my mentality would be to go rogue, in the sense of I'm not fighting for re-election. Re-election is not my goal. My goal is to fix these issues, because we can keep talking about them, or I can put things in place that can truly shift our city and the trajectory of the lives of the citizens who live here. So my concern, if I did it and won, my concern would not be re-election. My concern would be change and affect and impact what you can with the 4 years that you got.
Right.
So that's what I would do.
Love it.
So good questions.
Thank you.
I knew that last one was coming. But good ones. Thank you, Tony. Boom. That's everybody. Kelly, did you have